everybody, it's Daniel from BloodClover Tactical here again. As promised, we are doing the Glock 45 and the 19X review this week. Hope you guys enjoy. So the first gun we're going to go over today is the Glock 19X. It comes in the coyote color from Glock. This was released as part of the military trials. It ended up losing out to the SIG P320 or the M17. And this particular gun that we shot out at the range has the Trijicon night sights on it. It's all stock. It did have a stream light on it, also in the coyote color, and we'll be going over the details. So the next gun is obviously the Glock 45. This gun, at first when they released it, I was kind of a little bit ticked off. Honestly, they called it a 45 and it's a 9mm. I think that a lot of people were very skeptical still of the 19X. First hybrid gun Glock had released and things like that. A lot of people were upset, myself included. I wasn't upset, I just didn't know honestly if the gun was going to be up to Glock standards. And it has. This gun has definitely held up to every standard that I would expect out of Glock. The difference between this particular gun, we'll go into more details on the internals and things later, but the only difference externally on this gun versus the 19X that we shot, this one has the Ameriglow bolts on it. So we've got it in orange in the front sight, and then the back is, they're still got tritium in them, so they're night optics. So we've obviously checked the guns to make sure they're clear, but we're going to do that again just because we're going to do the trigger pull test. I've seen several different guys on YouTube do this, but there is a definite difference between these triggers. The Glock 19X and the 45 definitely have a different factory trigger. Like I said, I like to replace mine, and we will be doing that in both of these guns. We'll probably do a follow-up review later just to go over that. But let's go without further ado. Let's see how the trigger pull goes. It's really spongy in the front. It's like most Glock triggers. And you hit a wall, you go through the reset. It's a little bit longer, but that wall's there, so it's not too bad. I will say there's a definite improvement in the 45. So you got a little bit of sponge take up, and then a much crisper feel. Reset's about the same. I can't say that the 19X is a bad trigger. There's definitely worse in a factory trigger, but I would recommend changing. It's very easy. It's a very cheap change, about $150 depending on what trigger you go with. And there's a dozen of those or more that are great triggers out there. So now to my personal favorite, the Coyote Glock 19X. The second I saw this gun come out, I was a little bit skeptical at first, but I was excited about the coloring. It's a stupid ask, but this is definitely something that I thought was cool. I love the Cerakote my pistols, and this one kind of just made me happy that it comes that way already done. There are a few things missing, obviously, from the 19X that come in the Glock 45. One of those would be the match grade barrel that comes in the Glock 45. We have a threaded barrel that we use in this, and we'll go over that another time, just talking about the different options for threaded barrels. But this particular one, we put all these stock items in the gun just to make sure that we're back to, they're very comparable just out of the box. So with that, a lot of guys use the titanium guide rods. I like the Glock stuff. Glock's been great. We did have one fail on us from the Gen 4, and Glock got us a new spring instantly. So I think I had it like within a week or two. So no complaints there. Glock's done a great job, especially with how much we're shooting. I think that it's something that you want to keep in mind. The other thing that I would like to bring up is the magazines. So the Glock 19X comes with the extended magazines. When you slide these in to the pistol, you get a little more purchase. Somebody with big hands like me definitely likes to have a little more purchase on the gun. The Glock 17 definitely gives you a little more purchase in that area. The one thing I will bring up though, the Glock, you cannot put the Glock 45 magazines into the 19X. The little flare in the front keeps you from doing that, but on the same table, we have the 45, and you can, however, slide to just make sure it's clear. You can put the Glock 19X in the Glock 45. So just something, it's kind of a small thing to bring up, but it's definitely something that's a little bit different. You'll notice we were filming and we had the Streamlight TLR1 HL in the gun, and we will be doing some videos on that versus the X300. Very good light. The nice thing about this one, it actually comes in a very similar color, that coyote color, maybe a little darker. They also make it in a lighter color. It's more towards the color of the grip. So that's an option as well. So one of the primary differences in the Glock Gen 5s versus the Gen 4s and the Glock 19X, which really doesn't have its own generation, obviously, as we've discussed before, is the flared magwell. Not sure how I felt about this at first. I have several Glocks that I have put flared magwells on, aftermarket parts, after having them stippled and things like that. Think those probably would work better, but this is actually a marked improvement for Glock, in my opinion. You probably, if you want an extreme flare out on your magwell, are going to want to do something different, but it's something that's there, and a lot of guys like that. The trigger is also supposed to be a better trigger, and we'll go over that later. I think that there is a marked improvement in the trigger as well in the Gen 5s. They're a little bit less spongy in the take-up, and then the wall is relatively crisp for a stock trigger. Once again, I changed mine, so that's something that I would definitely recommend doing if you're going to carry this or use this for any type of training. One of the other things that you do get in the Gen 5s is a match grade barrel. So Glock's barrels have always been decent. I've never had a major issue with them. Saying that though, I do realize that I change a lot of my barrels out to be threaded so I could put a can on the end of them. So that's something to keep in mind. So one of the other major differences on the Glock Gen 5s are the serrations on the slide. They put them on the front and back. A lot of guys send their guns out to be milled and custom type stuff. If you're going to do that, this one already has it. Something to keep in mind. Obviously, they did get rid of the squared off end on the Glock 19X and the Gen 5. I just wanted to point that out, simply because one of the problems I have, and you guys will see this when we go over, we have a fully customized Cerakoted Glock 19 that we'll go over from Gen 4. That's actually out being stippled right now, so we're not, we don't have it to go over. But it was squared off on the end, and one of the major problems that we had was the bluing came off. So basically, by the time we sent that gun out to be Cerakoted, it was silver. And this front on the new Gen 5s and the 19X definitely makes it a little bit easier on the front when you're taking it in and out of your holster, depending on what type of holster you have. Some of like the LS from Safariland has, some of them have like that velvet in them. Makes it a little bit easier on the gun, but it's definitely a marked improvement as well. Guys, regardless of which one of these guns you end up going with, both are great options. I will say you get a few more things with the Glock 45. Being a Gen 5, you get the flared magwell and things like that. If you're one of those guys that are going to change your gun drastically and start having the grip stippled and a lot of different changes like that. You just can't live without the Coyote. Like myself, I'm one of those guys that just really like the Coyote tan gun. That's what I went with, but there are a lot of positives. I own both of these. I bought both these guns myself, and they do very well. There's nothing bad about either one of these, and they both shot very similar at the range. You could tell almost no difference. And after putting 1,000 rounds total out of 500 out of both of these, the 19X, in all fairness, has about 5,000 rounds through it in total. I've had it pretty much since that gun came out, and then I got this one about 24 hours ago, just about 24 hours ago. So both of them fired very well. This one's obviously a little more stiff. I think that's one of the reasons we had trouble getting the gun taken down, was just simply because the spring is so tight just from being so new. And the AmeriGlow bold sights on this one, I think, actually offer a distinct advantage during the daytime shooting. Great sights. There's a lot of good sights out there. Haley Strategic makes some good ones, but neither one of these are bad, the Trijicon sights nor the AmeriGlow bolds. So whichever one you guys go with, stay safe. Hope you guys have a good Christmas. Tomorrow's Christmas. Oh, it's Christmas Eve, sorry. Tells you how much I am in touch. So tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and hope you guys have a great Christmas, happy holidays, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.